No, I got lots of questions about this, but let's talk about when will altcoin season start? This famed event that will make altcoins and Bitcoin skyrocket, like when Bitcoin will hit 150K, Ethereum 5K, Sui $5 or more, Solana $500, XRP to $5, etc. You probably heard about this a lot in the crypto community, and I'm here to answer when that season is coming. So disclaimer, everything said in this video is only for educational purposes. Make sure to always do your own research first. But this is why you should listen to me, Midas, will I beat the S&P 500 by 103x in less than a year. If you want the proof, you can check it on my link in bio. It'll show you all my calls and the date stamps. Let's get to the video. So this is the question that everyone on the internet, asking every crypto bro, finance, or everyone in stocks just wants to know, when is altcoin season coming? And you'll probably see a lot of these, different altcoin season indexes, many X posts, Instagram posts talking about when this season is going to be coming. And you'll be wondering, so we have so much bullish news, right? Trump's in presidency, he's bullish for crypto. BlackRock and many other ETFs are now buying Bitcoin, as well as a Bitcoin went down to 89K, then rebounded to 93K right now as of this post. But sure, maybe you could say that, altcoins are being dragged down because Bitcoin went down. Bitcoin is the king of all cryptos. But it's more than just Bitcoin because Bitcoin falls down because of macroeconomic conditions. So let's break down the macroeconomic conditions of the world, liquidity, and the catalysts that are needed for altcoin season to come. So first of all, what actually triggers altcoin season? First of all, we need Bitcoin dominance to fall. Remember what I said that everything is tied towards Bitcoin? Well, yeah. So if Bitcoin doesn't move, none of the altcoins like Ethereum, XRP, or Sui or Solana are ever going to move up. They're going to stay stagnant or just keep falling as Bitcoin falls. And yeah, and then how it works is that first of all, people buy into Bitcoin because it's the king. And as Bitcoin goes up, the Bitcoin dominance is going to keep going up. Then eventually, once a Bitcoin hits its peak, people are going to sell off their Bitcoin in order to, you know, use their liquidity, use their gains to buy into altcoins. That's why Bitcoin dominance needs to fall in order for altcoins to keep going up. And secondly, we need fresh liquidity to enter the markets, enter the system, which we already have. We're getting a lot of that in the next few months, with the Federal Reserve already cutting the rates. You know, Trump offering $2,000 stimulus checks for households making under $100,000, as well as, Saudi planning to invest 1 trillion into the US markets. So, retail confidence is recovering right now, especially with Nvidia beating earnings yesterday, which has been spiking up the bull market and restoring the bull market from our, largest downturn after the government shutdown. And first of all, macro needs to stop being hostile. You can see it during the 2020 to 2021 bull run or altcoin season. The macro there was kind of bad, but it recovered, and then that's when altcoin season began. Our macro this year has been completely not the best. We had tariffs coming in and lots of like, war tensions and tariffs. So yeah, just been a pretty bad year. But let's get to the next part. Yeah, so adding on to that, macro has been pretty much a wall since Q3 2025. And that's exactly what kills a bull. In the graph, signs of an economic recession are a bad omen for the stock market. As you can tell, if you know Trump says he's going to offer more tariffs, the world just shuts down, the stock markets crash, and it's because of bad macro. So remember, markets are still digesting the rate hike environment. There's also that global uncertainty, World War III, what's going to happen? Is AI a bubble? Michael Burry shorting the market. There's so much different news happening around the world that everyone's still uncertain. And therefore, people have a weak risk appetite. Like a lot of people during the downturns lately after the government shutdown all thought we were going to a bear market or all thought that AI is a bubble. Maybe Michael Burry was right, but it was all manipulation. And you could easily tell that was manipulation because there was no macroeconomic events that really influenced the markets. Nothing really changed after the government shutdown, which is supposed to be a bullish event. So you can tell it's manipulation compared to macro events where it's just like tariffs are actually happening right now and are actually influencing the market as of now. And institutions are still waiting for clarity. With the government shutdown, there was little to no data, so a lot of people didn't know where we were going in the markets. And right now, retail is still scared of 2022 to 2023, which was that, pretty much that short-term bear market is an extended bear. Retail wasn't really sure. Let's talk about the largest government shutdown in history. So, a lot of people thought that because the government shutdown, well, it went down, it would be bullish to the markets because previously in history, these shutdowns are pretty short term. And during those short term shutdowns, it was actually bullish to the markets. Markets actually went up. However, instead, as the government shutdown kept going on, a lot of retail started getting afraid, same with institutions, and therefore the markets dumped because there was no clarity in the markets as to the economic data. Are they going to cut rates? Are they not going to cut rates? So people were left in limbo, which is bad for the markets. People don't like uncertainty. And headlines were bullish and still the market dumped. But remember that no actual new liquidity followed, and risk markets pumped briefly in the short term, despite the government shutdown, then stalled because of that lack of certainty. And the liquidity, not news, drives altcoins. We need liquidity, and this shutdown did not help because we never got the chance to get more liquidity into the markets. We were just pretty much using it all. And QT ending is largely the main catalyst that we have for altcoin season because QT is deflationary. It drains liquidity, quantitative tightening. And as long as QT persisted, altcoins will struggle, which it did. And now we're hoping for in 2026, that'll be QE, where money is flowing back into risk assets. And that should be expected in the next few months. And I believe that once QE begins, that's when altcoin season begins because we'll have more liquidity, more retail, and more institutions will want to buy into these risk on assets. And historically, alt to run the hardest when QE returns. You can take a look at all the other bull runs, altcoin seasons. QE is one of the biggest catalysts. Another point is the Federal Reserve and the rate cuts. That was a really key turning point. As soon as they announced the first rate cut in September, that's when the market started really soaring up after the tariff news, because they were still recovering from the tariffs and all that downturn for the last few months after April. And the cut signal liquidity easing. So lower rates push capital into higher risk assets because think about it, if you can borrow money for cheaper, why would you not try to invest that money into, crypto or these penny stocks or meme stocks that can go up 10x so you could pay back your debt, pay back your interest that you took or your loan that you took in, and also receive a larger amount of money because interest rates are so low. And remember that Bitcoin runs first, then liquidity spills into alts. That's why we need lots of liquidity. So liquidities need to buy Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin money or that Bitcoin profits will be transferred then into altcoins, fueling altcoin season. And the rate cuts plus the quantitative easing, I believe, is the main turning point to signal the beginning of the parabolic phase. Crypto and these risk on assets need liquidity. That's one thing you should take from this whole video. If there's no liquidity, there's no party, and there's no altcoin season. And first of all, we need Bitcoin dominance to break down. Right now, it's at an all-time high. I think the altcoin season index is pretty low right now, like 30 or something, because also been getting crushed. So right now, dominance is still elevated. We need that to go down so that we can go into altcoin season. And institutions buying Bitcoin starves alts temporarily because they're not getting much, altcoin adoption, altcoin liquidity. However, when altcoin season begins, Bitcoin will consolidate, and then that dominance will roll over onto altcoins when people will transfer their profits from Bitcoin into altcoins. And watch Bitcoin.d for the timing trigger. Another bullish thing is Trump's $2,000 stimulus proposal. You can pause the video and take a look at Trump's tweet. But this is more or less the 2020, 2021 COVID-19, stimulus playbook when the whole government system pretty much injected liquidity into the markets, fueling that parabolic altcoin season. So this means that $2,000 checks will be awarded to these households that have under $100,000 in household, salary. This is more or less for a tariff relief for the average Joe. And this stimulus is direct liquidity injection, which is much needed for crypto to go up. And retail capital flows to crypto, especially altcoins, because people are more risk on, people are able to spend more. And like I mentioned, similar to 2020 21 effect if the stimulus is passed. So let's talk about now tying this all together. When does it all align? So I believe the liquidity bottoming out late 2025. We have QT ending on December 1st by Jerome. Possibly Jerome will be replaced soon because his tenure is already over. Rate cuts into 2025. Hopefully we get one in December. Let's see. QE returned in 2025, 2026. Then I believe the Bitcoin will rally, then consolidate after hitting a new all-time high, and then altcoin season or altcoins rotate Bitcoin profits into, altcoins. And then the most likely window will be from, either late 2025 to mid 2026, and then, or even longer, honestly. I think there's an end. This is a new video, but I think right now we're in a super cycle where a version of my whole thesis was on a 4-year cycle, which has always been. But that cycle may actually change this time with the amount of ETFs, Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF, the crypto DATs. There's so much liquidity now into crypto. It's no longer a retail game. It's now an institutional game. So institutions can more or less lead on this whole season as long as they want because they control the whole markets. But I'll get to that in another video. And the TLDR of this whole video is you can take a look at the CMC Altcoin Season Index. Take a look at this. It's on the CoinMarketCap website. And basically singles like, is it on Bitcoin right now or is the dominance on altcoins, which will give you an indicator as to whether we're in altcoin season or not. And altcoin season will not start on headlines like I mentioned. It starts from liquidity, which we already have and are getting, plus the macro improves, and plus Bitcoin dominance falls down, will align together, fueling altcoin season. And the setup is forming, but it's not here yet. I repeat, it's not here yet. Just wait and be patient. So repair early, rotate correctly, understand the cycle. There's a reason why I'm telling you guys right now to buy into crypto treasury companies because when this altcoin season comes, and I believe it will, all these data companies are going to skyrocket. I repeat, skyrocket. So you want to learn more? Join my Discord, link in bio. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and link for more. That's all I got for today. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.